All right, so when you're logged in, you'll go to settings and you'll see this My Business settings. Just want to get you familiar with the layout. Business profile is basically everything about your business. You can fill this out now or later, there's no rush, but basically just your main business stuff. If you do the phone integration, you'll see there's a step in here where you fill this out for an application that's automatically generated for you. The one quick thing I want to go over is you'll see there's this legal business name as well as a friendly business name. So if you're like ABC Painting LLC, you would put that here. But then for your friendly name, it would just be ABC Painting. And whenever you're using values in like an email and you put in like company name, it'll use the friendly business name as the value instead of the legal. But yeah, you can fill all this stuff out. Just make sure if you change something, press update information so it saves. One important thing here under general is you want to have allow duplicate opportunity on. So if it's not on, turn it on. And that basically just allows you to have more than one job or estimate per contact. So especially with commercial work, you might have one company and contact like ABC Construction, but you'll do 10 jobs for them. So this allows us to have multiple jobs, opportunities as leads, jobs, estimates. So you definitely want that on. This is really your preference. Merge Facebook contacts by name. So when somebody messages you on Facebook, their profile will have a name. And if you turn this on, the CRM will try to be smart and realize like, oh, John Smith, those match. Let's merge them together. You know, there might be two John Smiths, so it's not always perfect. The names are case sensitive, but it is convenient. You can always manually merge them if you realize like, oh, John Smith from Facebook here and John Smith that I have his name and phone number here is the same person, merge them. But this just tries to save you a little bit of time. The time zone really depends on where you live. Where I live, my whole service area is all in the same time zone, so I don't need to worry about it. If you live like right on the border of a time zone, then you may want to mess with all the time zone settings you'll see throughout the CRM. So basically, if you turn this on and you send an email and it hard bounces, it's going to mark that email as invalid, which will make it so it won't allow you to send emails to that email anymore. So any email action you have is going to get skipped. I would turn that on. And these might change order or have some new ones as time goes on and we add things. So if you see more or don't see one of these, I wouldn't worry about it. Most of them are just convenience options. This costs money, so if you want to turn it on, just know that you're going to get charged a half a penny. But it's basically going to validate the phone number when you send the first text. So it's going to let you know if it's a real phone number or not. I find that it's worth it, but just know that it does cost money, so you can leave it off. It's not needed. Same thing with the email address. That cost a quarter of a penny, but it is nice to know if you have a fake email or a fake number and you don't continue to try to reach out to them. This stuff is going to be on by default. If you're going to turn it off, do it at your own, liability and risk. Essentially, a lot of the rules and regulations now say that you need this stuff, but I'll leave it up to you. It depends on your business, what you're doing. I'm not even going to give advice here, talk to your legal advice, but if you want to turn it off, this is how you do it. You're going to get this warning. Just say, I agree. It's just basically taking any liability off of us, so it's all on you. If you send out a text and it says reply stop to unsubscribe and you think that that's not good or you don't like it, that's how you turn it off, is right here. Allow duplicate contacts. Don't turn that on. You want this off. This is basically called like the unique identifier. So if you get two John Smiths, it's going to know if it's the same John Smith or not based on the email. So if it's got two different email addresses, it's going to treat it as two different John Smiths. And then the second thing is the phone. If there isn't an email address, it'll look at the phone, but it's not going to allow duplicate contacts. So if you try to enter a contact and it's already in the system, it's going to say, hey, this is already in the system, can't create a duplicate. And it's going to look at the email and then phone number to try to understand if it's a duplicate. Now you will notice it is possible to still get a duplicate contact, in which case you would merge them. Basically, if you've already got two created and it didn't have an email address, you could technically go in there and enter an email address that already exists and get a duplicate, but the system tries to be smart to where, let's say that you had a client this year, next year they come back, they fill out a contact form and they use that same email address, it's going to add it on to the existing contact and put a new lead in rather than creating a duplicate. So I would just leave this as is, make sure this is off. Email, phone is the best. Enable text back. I personally leave that off and use automations. Once you set up a phone number, you can have it to where if you miss a phone call, it's going to send out whatever message you want. We just have this default one in there. This will be in the phone setup as well, but under the business profile, if you want to record a voicemail, you can. You can also just let it default to your actual phone's voicemail. It's if you want to use it in the system or not. And then you can set your timeout, like how long before the voicemail gets turned on. If you have no timeout, it's just going to use whatever phone it's ringing to, so it'll go to that phone's voicemail. My profile will be different for every user. So I'm logged in as this Jill Fake. If I was logged in as a different person and I come to profile, it's going to have a different setup, but this is where you're going to put in the information for that person. You got your signature for your email. This will be covered in the email section. This will be covered in the calendar section. So I'm not going to spend much time on it here. Just getting you familiar with the CRM and what it looks like. If you come to company billing and it's blank, if you want to do anything that costs money, you'll have to add a payment method. This is what it looks like normally, where it's going to show you, what package you're on. It'll show you your billing history. You'll have your card info here. And if you want to switch cards, you can add a different card here. You can make it your primary or just have a backup. And then this is your balance. So essentially for things that cost money, like sending mass emails, it works by you have a balance. So you can set that balance to what you want. So say it's $10 and basically it'll use that $10. When it gets down to low, it'll recharge and charge you another $10. So basically you'll get charged $10 at a time. And then this is when the balance reaches. So when the balance reaches 0, it's going to charge you $10. And I'll just keep repeating that. So like for my company, I just say $100 and I think I put it at like 10. So basically when we get down to it about $10, it'll charge another 100, bump it back up, and then just repeat that cycle. But you can set it to whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you want to know. In the beginning, you probably want to know, how long does $10 last? So you can keep it low like that. And then just for accounting, you've got 10 charges you got to organize for $100, or you can just have one charge for $100, whatever is most convenient and best for you. But that's what all this is. My staff is where you can add in your employees, even subs or others, just whoever your team is. You just click add right here and you're going to fill out their information. So basic stuff like phone number, email, whatever phone number and email you use here will be the phone number and email it uses when they do the 2-factor authentication when they log in. So make sure you put in real ones because it'll send a text or email to that. And if it's not real, then they won't be able to log in. If they forget their password, you can reset it here by just dropping that in. If you already know what calendar you're going to put them on, you could do it now. If you want to set up a signature so everybody in your company has the same look, it's there for you. Permissions is really important. This may look different than it does now. A lot more granularity is getting added, but depending on who you're adding, you're going to want to give them more or less permissions. For workflows, which is your automations, you can turn this read only on, which means they'll be able to see them, but they won't be able to change them. Same thing with email campaigns. This one is really good. We use it for like painters, only assign data. So what this is saying is if you turn this on, only contacts that are assigned to that user, they'll be able to see. So if you don't want them seeing other stuff in the CRM or other contacts, then you can just turn that on. And if they're a painter, they're only going to see like 1 or 2 at a time, depending on their schedule and what job they're at. So it just makes it real simple and easy for them. And you can see there's tons here. For this video, I'm not going to go into every single one. Call and voicemail settings is going to be in the phone section of the onboarding. So I'm not really going to cover it here, but that's what that is. Both the user availability as well as the calendar configuration will be covered in the calendar portion of the onboarding, and it's available here for you to adjust as well as for the user under My Profile. When they're logged in, they'll have access to these areas. For this right here, just make sure it's off. If it's on, turn it off, leave it off. All right, so that's a brief rundown of the My Business settings.